And
And
we'll see if anyone pops on.
do you have to allow attendees on?
Oh, nope, they're hopping on right now.
Okay.
Let's see. All right, guys, we'll let you keep hopping on here, and then we'll get into the questions. So give everybody a minute to hop on here. Having a good Tuesday, Isaac?
I am.
Nice.
Tuesdays are always better than Mondays.
That's true. One day closer to Friday. All righty. Let's see. Still have a couple people hopping on, so.
Okay. All right.
Perfect. Well, I think it makes sense to go ahead and get started then. So I'm Bracken. I work in partnerships here at BusyBusy, and we have Isaac, our founder and CEO. So he is going to be telling his story and answer some questions that we had a couple of our attendees send in ahead of time. So nobody knows you better than yourself, Isaac. If you want to go ahead and introduce yourself, then we can dive into your story and how you came to start BusyBusy.
Okay. Well, yeah, for your attendees, my story is probably a lot like most of theirs. You know, I got into the construction industry through a family business, graduated or got out of high school, and my brothers basically threw me into the trenches. So my background is excavation and land development. And so we did, you know, pipe work and grading and so forth. And my brothers basically said, you know, I started at the bottom, you might say, laborer, and then pipe layer and operator, then moved up and started operating equipment and end up managing projects and managing job sites, and then continued to move my way into estimator and then owner of the company and so forth. Just kind of move my way through the industry, which is probably a common
Right.
story that you would hear from others. Probably the difference, and not different from everyone, but certainly different than some people, is I'm extremely analytical in my nature, almost to a fault. Like I break down everything. And so I'm even, you know, annoyingly analytical. And so when I was going through and doing these jobs, I would always study and process the jobs and try my best to find out how I could be more profitable on the job. So I would break down the estimates. I would break down the networking, the relationship between us and the other subcontractors or the generals, break down everything to see how I could squeeze more profit into the jobs. And to me, it was really a game. You know, that was how I entertained myself. So I would try to accomplish jobs that way. And so I kind of analyzed the industry. And then as I moved up through those different positions, I got to experience all the different parts of the industry, you know, what it's like to be doing the work, what it's like to be the supervisor that's managing the daily tasks, and what it's like to be the project manager managing multiple projects, what it's like to be the estimator that ends up
Right.
having to account for why the projects were good or bad. Did you do a bad estimate, or you know, was the production bad? Was the estimate bad? If the job loses money or if it gains money, who's to, you know, whose fault is that, or who did a good job there, right? So I got to experience all those positions. And then in 2007, as I was kind of thinking about it all, and you know, it was one of those moments in my life where I was just kind of pondering my experiences. You know, I've been in the industry for quite a while. My projects had, when I was running projects directly, they'd been the most profitable projects in the company, just because of the way I approached them, and, you know, focused on revenue producing activities, focused on breaking things down so I could keep my crew moving fast and moving obstacles out of their way. But then as I started managing the whole business, then you know, it was more challenges to manage, more difficulties. And some of the greatest challenges I had was getting the data out of the field. And so I had, for example, a gal that was working for me at the time that spent 3/4 of her time not doing administration data, but just trying to get the time cards out of the field, interpret them, call the guys, find out what they're working on, because I wanted good job costing data. I wanted to know not only what time they have, but I want to know where they spent their time, what tasks they spent them, and relate it to the estimate, because I was always trying to check my math, double check my estimates, see if they were coming in like they were supposed to, or like I had assumed they would. And so that along with managing a whole bunch of other aspects of the company. So that was just one aspect. And then you're managing legal requirements of the company, customers, production, in our case, equipment management, asset management, dealing with updated regulations. I mean, most of the attendees, I'm sure, know this or familiar with this, but it feels like you're wearing, a million different hats and you're just dealing with everything at the same time. And it's just a cluster of information coming at you and challenges coming at you. And of course, we just say that's business, right? But I was dealing with, I ended up taking on a mentor, hiring a guy that was the CFO of a large manufacturing company to come in and kind of give me some advice on how to run my business better, because I'm always attempting to improve or excel. When he looked at everything I was doing, he says, well, how do you even run your business? You don't even have enough information here to run your business. And I was like, well, what do you mean? We have all this data, we got all this. And he's like, this is unreliable. This is too late. You're getting this stuff in 30 days, 60 days after it happens. How do you even run a profitable business like this? And I said, well, that's just how the construction industry operates. And he said, well, then the industry's stupid. It's like, you can't operate like that. And of course they're manufacturing, so they're spoiled. They have all their data right in front of them. It's in one place, it's in one facility, and we're a mobile industry, so it's a lot harder to collect our data. And that combined with all my experiences, I thought, well, okay, we've got to find a way to collect the data from the field and get it in real time. And before the iPhone was even introduced, we had the first beginnings of a smartphone was like this Microsoft phone that was basically like a phone that you could get the internet on, and it was really rudimentary. So I thought, well, if we just had a website, people could log their hours or do something like this and this, that would be amazing. And so I had this idea, start fostering as far as what we could do to better collect that data in and start being able to use it as a business intelligence to compare it with our estimates. And during that same time, while I was going through that, kind of working through that thought process, then BlackBerry came out. It was better than the Windows phone. So it was like, okay, that could work. We could maybe use that tool or that device if we set up a good website. And then shortly after, Steve Jobs introduced the iPhone. And in my opinion, contractors around the world should have celebrated all over when the iPhone came out, because it benefits us more than maybe anybody, because we're a mobile industry and we need mobile data. We have to be able to get that data. And so the iPhone and the Androids came out at the same time, and they're really awesome too. The iPhone was just simpler to use. So, and in my opinion, it still is. So we utilize it, but so that became the tool that I was able to rely upon to say, look, we could actually create a really good mobile tracking system. That's how I moved from, to your point, from dirt to data, right? So I'm doing dirt work, and I'm moving into the construction or to the technology industry. So I had an idea of what I wanted to accomplish, to get technology to start doing the heavy lifting of some of those burdens and tasks that we were working on, so that I could focus my time more on producing revenue instead of a lot of monotonous tasks, and like collecting time cards from the field and getting that into your accounting system, doing all your job costing. That's monotonous tasks. That's something that you should systemize so that you can focus your time on producing more revenue and producing more profit. So anyway, that was my kind of leap from the construction world into the technology world, was just deciding that had to be done. And then I went through a massive learning curve there, where I went and knew nothing about technology. So I contacted a friend of mine that had graduated with a CS degree, and I said, okay, I need a computer science degree. I said, I need someone to program a website for me, do this. And I started explaining my idea to him. He says, you're not ready for a CS person yet. He said, you need a UX designer, which is user experience. He said, you need to have someone, basically walk through and design out wireframe or design your website for you and your mobile apps. And so in 2010, I hired a UX designer to start working my thoughts through. He ended up introducing me to his professor, that is Eric Pedersen at Dixie State University, that's now the Dean of Technology over there. And Eric came on and became my consultant to help me hire the right people and go through the process. And so he was that mentor that helped bridge the gap between construction and technology for me. And that's how I arrived in the technology industry. And then that's been, of course, a great and wonderful learning curve, and, comes up to this point. I think one of the questions you want to know is why Busy focused on time tracking and job costing first. I think that's one of the.
Yeah, I think that's something that would be really interesting for everyone to know, as well as how your experience in the construction industry has made BusyBusy so successful today. So if you want to hit on those two topics, I think that'd be awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. So first off, during that time between 2007, 2009, I spent a couple of years really studying the industry, and that included, I hired a company out of Connecticut to do a nationwide survey and study on the construction industry to find out what problems were. And I knew what the problems were, in my opinion. I just wanted to make sure that it wasn't just unique to me or to the geographical region I was in, but to make sure that it was consistent problems across the nation. And so we looked at all the issues and all the problems and how to solve them. And I guess we basically looked at it like, if you were, one of the data points we found is 70% of the time contractors fail. So if 100 construction companies go into business in 1 year, 7 years from that date, only 30 will have survived and 70 will have failed. And so when we looked into the reason why behind that, because I'm a why guy, I always look at, what's the reason that happened? Let's dig in and let's find out what the source of the problem is. So as we dug into that research and dug into the source of the problem, the single answer to why do contractors fail was that they have insufficient data to make profitable or proper decisions. Insufficient data. So they don't have good data, right? So what kind of data is that? What does it look like? And so digging into that more, we looked at the estimating cycle, the estimate versus the comparison. So most of the time when people do estimates, they estimate their job and then they go out and execute. They go do the job. Okay, so they estimate it, which includes making a plan for how they're going to accomplish this job. And usually it's a combination of labor, and in my case, equipment too. But you have your resources to do the job, and then you have the materials that you need to do it. And then you have subcontractors, suppliers, things like that. So you're taking this scattered set of resources and putting them together and saying, and then you're adding a time component to it, which is the real important thing here. You're adding a time component and saying, okay, I think this crew with these kind of tools or equipment or whatever it is can accomplish this much work in this much time and use this many materials. So as we dug into that and try to find out, well, what portion of that is hard to discover. And what I mean by hard to discover is when you do the comparison. So if I do that estimate and I say, okay, we're going to go out and we're going to install 1,000 feet of sewer pipe, and it's going to be 8 or 10 feet deep, and I'm going to use five crew members and 3 different machines to do that job. And I think like checking the wind. No, just kidding.
Yeah.
Sometimes we have good data, but other times, I think this, based on my experience, I think this is how long this is going to take, right? So what we should do is we do that estimate, and then we give that work order to the crew, and we should actually tell them how we planned it, have them track according to that plan, and then later evaluate it and say, okay, did it go the way I was thinking or did it not? That's the simple thing. So if you look at this as a cycle, and I call this the project accounting cycle, is you estimate the job, you execute the job, and then you evaluate to see if you did a good job on your estimate, right? Okay. So when you get to that evaluation point, that's the real key of the problem is, okay, what data do I know that came in from the field, and how much did it give me good knowledge? So when you're collecting time is the real key. It's the hardest data to get. The materials are easy to get. The suppliers and subcontractors, that's easy to get. It's the time that you take to accomplish a task that's the hard data to get. So even if you get that data, so you have people put in their time, then the other question is how did you get that data? Is it accurate? And so then you look at, typically when people fill out paper time cards, it's usually at the end of the pay period, whether that's a week or 2 weeks, just before they have to get in that data, they fill out that time and say, yeah, this is what I did, this is what I accomplished, because they want to get paid. Employee wants to get paid, so they get that time. Well, if they fill out that time card at the end of the pay period, the inaccuracies are off the charts. Number one, their time's probably not accurate, but number two, and most especially, the allocation of their time to what they were doing is not accurate. So how much time did they take to install the sewer main line versus the manholes versus the laterals, whatever it was, and everybody's got their different ways of doing it depending on their trade in the industry. But how much time did they take? How much time did they take on a specific job, from job to job? And all of that is just blurry and not even close to accurate if you're getting that time filled out at the end of that pay period. And so,
Well, and sorry to interrupt. I
No,
think you
that's all right.
said on another webinar that we did recently, it was something like, do you remember what you had for lunch on Monday or
Right.
Saturday, I guess? And it's like, no, I don't remember that. And I couldn't
Yeah,
tell you in detail everything about it from a week ago, which, I mean, ask yourself that and then expect your people to be able to go back and fill their time out correctly. It's just, it's not realistic.
that's right.
And I thought that that was a super interesting analogy. And it's like, it's very true. You would think we could remember what we had for lunch 5 days ago, but it's not always
Yeah,
the case.
that's right. You can't. You're doing pretty good if you can remember what you did today. If you
Yeah.
work your day and at the end of the day you fill out your time card, you're doing pretty good. And that's not even totally accurate. The American Payroll Association figures that an employer loses on average 45 minutes a day if the employee is doing end of the day time reconciliation. And the reason why is, think of it like this. I'm supposed to show up at 7 o'clock, but I roll in, maybe I get started around 7:15. Then I'm supposed to take a half-hour lunch, and maybe it spans a little bit longer. It's just a little bit longer because I'm not paying attention. So it's like 45 minutes. And then I'm supposed to leave at 4 o'clock, but I leave a little bit early, 3:45, I shut down. It doesn't seem like a big deal to the employee on the job. It doesn't feel like a big deal, but yet you lost 45 minutes of productive time that you actually paid for. You pay for that time, but you didn't get production out of it. And that is what the American Payroll Association says is the standard. And that's what happens when you're not tracking things. You've heard the statement, what gets measured gets managed. When you start tracking time for people, at first they don't like it. Nobody likes it because it's an additional task they've got to do. And it depends on how you sell it to them as far as whether they like it or not. If you're like, hey, we don't trust you, so we need to track your time, that doesn't go over well. But if you let them know, look, you're performing all these tasks that we estimate, and we need to understand how much time it takes you so we can reconcile with our estimate at the end of the day and figure out if we're right or not, so that we can be a profitable company. And that matters to you because you need to get raises and so forth, and we need to advance. If you sell it right, they don't resist it. Okay, so if you create that accountability where they're tracking that time and saying, okay, yeah, I spent this much time on this task and this much time on this task, and that starts becoming part of what they do. Now you're getting a data culture, and you start to see what's happening. If your estimates are coming in accurate, if they're not, if you're making money on one job and losing money on another job, now you get to start making decisions. Because
Yeah.
before, you're flying blind. And that's what you're doing. If you're using paper time cards, you're flying blind.
No, I think I mean, it makes total sense. And this might be more relatable for the women on the webinar, but I'm like, oh, I'm eating super healthy. I'm going to the gym. I should be fine. Like, not tracking anything of what I'm
Yep.
eating. And then when you like take a step back and you're like, oh, that handful of M&Ms, that makes a difference. And like tracking that as well. I mean, it's eye-opening. So as
Yeah,
far
you're
as
right.
like losing money on the job site, I think it's eye-opening for everybody involved. But I don't know. It's
Yeah,
very interesting.
thank you.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, I think that it makes total sense why you would focus on time tracking and job costing. Do you think that your experience in the construction industry has made a difference in BusyBusy's success? Because I know from like my perspective in partnerships, I talk to a lot of people, a lot of construction guys out in the field who are like, oh, well, does it do this and does it do that? And it's like,
Yeah.
yeah, no, we keep it super easy. Like Isaac,
Yep.
our founder and CEO, he started in this industry. And so for me, I believe that's a big portion about why it's successful and it's so relatable for a lot of people. But I'd love to hear your point of view on that.
Yeah, no, that there's a big factor there. So the two big differences I think that come into BusyBusy because of the time I spent in the field is one, and first and maybe most importantly is making sure it's super easy. I mean, you have to picture someone out in the field, dirty and grimy and busy and overwhelmed, and they're trying to interact with your application. And so if you don't make it super simple and easy and intuitive to just get to the point really fast, so it's a quick check in and check out for them, then you're going to fail. It can't be this big, long, onerous task to get in and out of your application. And what you have to do is you have to make it real simple for the people entering the data that are working. And yet on the back end where you're giving the data to the administrator in the office, give them as much complex data as they want to see. And so keeping it simple on the data input, and then getting enough, you might say, complex reports on the output for the administration. That's one of the keys to success. I think the other key is, I think I recognize more than anybody, even though the administrators make the decisions most of the time, like say, the administrator in the office, whether it's the bookkeeper or whether it's the project manager, the administrator, the owner, they're often making the decisions. And so a lot of times in other softwares, most softwares focus on those people because they say, oh, they're the ones making the decision whether to buy us or not. I try to focus more on the people out in the field that are entering the data. And the reason why is, you think of an example of a company. Let's say a company has, well, we'll make it 100 employees to make it simple, okay? So what would you rather save in your organization? If you're the boss, would you rather save 45 minutes a day for 100 employees to make their lives easier, or would you rather save 45 minutes a day for one employee, the administrator or the person who's entering the data into the computer, to make their life easier? If you understand business management at all, you try to save the people out in the field because they're producing revenue for you. And you let the person in the office, if they need to, have a little additional time to enter that data into their systems or reporting systems. That's counterintuitive to a lot of people, because what they do is the person making the decision is the administrator. So they say, well, if it's convenient to me, I'll buy it. If it's not convenient to me, I don't want it. Well, that's actually the sign of not a good manager, because they're only thinking of themselves and they're not thinking of the revenue or the profitability of the company. If I have 100 guys in the field, I would rather save 45 minutes a day times 100 than I would try to save 45 minutes a day times one person. And BusyBusy having that comprehension, we of course try to make the life easy for the administrator, but we focus heavily on the field, because we know that at the end of the day, the most important thing is to produce more revenue for that company and more profitability. And that's why most of our customers, see a big gain on their profit margin when they start using us.
Well, I think even from the flip view of the admin, it might not save them 45 minutes in the first month because it's going to be adjusting and getting used to things. But in the long run, it's going to end up saving them, I mean, tons of time.
It does.
Didn't your admin, when she was doing the payroll, like you said she was spending 3/4 of her time doing it? And I mean,
Yep.
that changed drastically once
Oh,
you
yeah.
guys started using BusyBusy.
Well,
So
it does save the admin tons of time. I guess my main point is we don't focus on the convenience of the admin. We focus on the convenience of the field.
it's a cherry on top.
Yeah, that has a natural conveyance to the admin of
Yeah.
simplicity. Like if we're gathering all that data and the admin's got it and it's all organized and clear for them to put in, yeah, it saves them a ton of time. It can save them days worth of time. I just mean on our development that we, if you think of it in steps, we first focus on the field and then we focus on how to simplify that data to the admin, because we want pure data. We want to get the right data from the field first.
Which makes, it makes total sense. And in the long run, it ended up saving everybody time. So
yeah,
it's awesome. Cool. Well, I think that we have some time to jump into the questions that were sent in to us. So let me get those pulled up. Drag them over here. Okay, cool. So let's start. This one is from Ethan, and he said, I'm just starting with BusyBusy and my office staff is really liking it. I have a couple guys in the field who are complaining about it. Any suggestions? We're hoping to fully have it rolled out to the entire team by beginning of November. So get in there.
Yeah, that's a really good question. So one thing you want to do is you think of rolling out a new system in your company like a wave. And there's actually a law behind this. It's a marketing law. It's called the law of diffusion of innovation. And what it means, that sounds complex, but what it means is, how do you introduce new concepts into your business? And this works whether it's BusyBusy or any other new system you're trying to roll in. And what you should do is start with the people who are most likely to adopt it first. And this is usually, your people that are excited about technology, the people that have been asking you, man, there's got to be an app for this. Like, why do we have to fill out paper? There's got to be an application that works. You start with them. And as they, and they're your early people, they're your early adopters. As they get using the system and get liking it, then they start to show the other people in the field how well it's working for them. And that kind of pushes it through your company. And the last people to get on are what we call the laggards. Laggards are people that are like, you know what, I hate this. I want to use a flip phone. I can't get anything done because I'm trying to enter all this data. And the way you overcome those objections is by showing them the example of all the people who have got on and are enjoying it. You say, look, no, it actually works really well. And all these people are doing it. And it's given us better data in our office. It's actually making the lives of the employees easier. And then you start, finding the benefits, like what's in it for the employee. You find the benefits that the early adopters got out of it. Like you talk to them, you say, okay, tell me why you like this. And you use those reasons to help get your laggards on board. And you can do it. And BusyBusy is designed, of course, to track time in multiple ways. Like you can set it up where a supervisor will do their time for them if you want. But as a concept wise, you get your early people that are excited about it on first. And then we call them late adopters. You get the late adopters on next. They're the ones who really want to see the early people do it first, and then they get on. And then your laggards, your tough people, you make sure by the time you get to them, you've got everybody else on board and using it, so that it just kind of pushes through them and says, look, here's all the benefits. We need to get this done.
I mean, and that makes total sense, but hearing you explain it makes it seem, so much easier. So I think that's a really great point. Easy way to get people on and going. So
Yeah.
cool. And if anybody has other questions, we'll see if we can get to them. Feel free to please throw them in the Q&A or the chat. We already have a couple lined out, but if there's extra time, we'll definitely try and hit on those as well. So, okay, this one is from Steven, and he is asking, how difficult was it to get your first clients to see the value in adopting a more granular real-time method of time and cash tracking, and has it gone easier over time?
That's a great question. And, first off, yes, it has gotten easier over time. So the key on getting more granular is you as a company need to decide how granular you want to get. And what I would say is you step into it. So when you first start tracking time, I would say the first thing you do is get people used them used to putting their time on their phone, on their data, so that they're clocking in and out. Like take it one step at a time. Next thing you do is try to make sure they're tagging their time to a project, to a job overall, just one job to a next, getting that time difference, because some people know whether they're making money month to month, and then others know whether they're making money from one job to the next. Okay. That's your next step. You want to know if I'm making money on one job to the next job. So then very simply just have them differentiate or clock in and out of one job. Then when they go to the next job, switch their time to that job. That's real easy. Then if you decide you want to get more granular on the data and break those jobs down into, you might say cost codes or tasks, or what I prefer is super codes, which is groups of work that gets done together, little groups within the job. Then you break it down further, but let your employees work their way into it, so that because Busy's designed it real simple. And so it's very tempting to just do it all at once because it's super easy. But some employees will struggle with that. And so it's nice to introduce them one step at a time.
Yeah, I think that's great. Cool. Okay, on to the next one. This is very podcasty, just hitting you with some questions. Okay, so James is asking, how do you prioritize business, friends, family, kids, sports, games, all that kind of stuff, while also working in two super different industries? Yeah, I think that's a great question. I have a hard time prioritizing just being in one position. I can't imagine where you're at there. So
yeah, that's a tough one. In the beginning of BusyBusy, it was a nightmare, because it was just so overwhelming. And so it was so much work and so much effort to get this off the ground that it was, a literal nightmare. And so it was very hard. And my family suffered quite a bit, as far as my time goes, where I wasn't able to put the time in that I needed to. And I guess the best answer to the question is you have to learn to systematize your business as much as possible. And so you take one task and one thing and you make it an automated system. And even BusyBusy, if I'm in the construction industry, BusyBusy is just one system. So there's payroll processing, right? Which now BusyBusy is doing that too. But there's time tracking, there's payroll, there's accounting, there's all these different systems you need to implement in your business. And the way you have to think as a business owner is automate and systematize as much as you possibly can. because that's how you get yourself free. And I often joke with people, and when they do all these things and they're like, oh no, I don't want to pay for that. I don't want to pay for that system. I'm like, you need to love yourself better. Like, you're worth
Yeah.
paying for a system to do that for you. Like, value your own time enough that you try to systemize your business and even hire the right people. And that's really the key in BusyBusy is I've hired the right leaders, and I've got the right people in and trained to where that they're running the company. And the same with my other companies that I work with. I have the right leaders in place and the right systems in place, so that it's taken time to get there, but now it's to the point that I do have that time with my friends and family that I wanted to. But in the beginning, it took some time to get there.
Yeah, awesome. Having those systems definitely makes a difference. You kind of already touched on this one, but it was just chatted in, so I wanted to throw it in as well. You touched on it just before, but Jaden's asking, what's a good way to introduce logging tasks and projects into BusyBusy? So again, with that getting more granular, I think if we could dive into
Yeah,
that a bit more, that would be awesome.
yeah, it's a great question. And one of the things we do to, I'll use Jaden to help kind of segue into what we do to help with that. Okay. One of the things we do in BusyBusy is we let the employee see their time broken down too. So an employee's got a record of their history. And if you ever talk to employees, you want them to be proud of their work. Most of them are. They're excited. I've spent this much time, like if you've ever talked to a contractor and you drive past, like, let's say it's a Home Depot or Walmart or something, they're like, oh, I did the excavation on that Walmart, or I did the painting on that Walmart, or I did something, right? Whatever their trade is, when you start tracking them, I would start by project first, and in BusyBusy, they can click and see their own data. And so they can see how much time they spent on all the projects this year. And then when you encourage them to go more granular into tasks, they can also see how much time they spent on specific tasks. So if let's say you've broken down the projects to like Walmart and Home Depot and Walgreens or whatever it is, okay, that's your project. So they can see how much time they spend on that project. Then in that year, then they can also see how much time they spent on specific cost codes that you've broken down. So let's say within that, I've got, let's say I'm a bricklayer and I've got or a stucco is what I'm thinking of. I've got like lath and brown coat and stuff like that. They can start seeing of the year they've spent this much time, and it starts making them feel more accomplished. Like, look at all the experience I have on a certain task or a certain thing. So I would say, show them how it's going to benefit them, still introduce it step by step, and then show them, say, look, you can see the time that you spent, and it helps them even understand their own skill set, because in essence, you want to give them bragging rights.
I love that. You've said before quite a few times, and I love when you say this, but A players want to be proud. And it's like, I know I love when I get to show off like whatever partnership or anything I've brought to BusyBusy. It makes you feel accomplished. And so from an employee's perspective, that's something that I really enjoy. So I think that's a great way to go about it.
Yeah.
We're a little over the 30-minute mark, but I still think we have a couple of good questions. So I want to throw in a few more here. I think this one's super interesting. So it's from an employee's standpoint. Clint's saying he works for a company and they're still using pen and paper. And so he's interested in bringing something like BusyBusy to upper management or to the owner. So how would you feel as a business owner if an employee brought a software to you, is essentially what he's asking.
Well, you mean before or after I got over my shock? Like, no, and I'm joking about this, Kay, but if someone has taken the time to actually think about how they can optimize or systematize my business for me, that is an impressive employee. Like, the first thought I would have is, wow, you actually used your mind to think about how to make our business better. I mean, seriously, good job. Now, hopefully you're a business owner that thinks like that. But if you have employees that are thinking of how they can make your business better, if their mind is working on that, I would applaud them just for that. So I would say that they should have the courage to bring that to their business owner. And they can be careful on how they can introduce it. They can say, hey, look, I just want to show you this system I thought might be useful. They can say it in a very submissive way so that they're not trying to tell their owner how to run their business. But, and again, depending on the owner, if I was the owner, I'd be so impressed that the person had even thought about how to bring a system into my business.
I think that's cool. We say, Clint, we say go for it.
Yep.
Seems like a pretty good idea. We actually had somebody recently who purchased BusyBusy for themselves because they work for an excavation company, and they're like, I want to start logging this data so I can bring it to my boss and show him how important doing this is and how it can make a big difference. So we've had a real life experience of that fairly recently. I think it was maybe last week that I saw that come through. So I think it's a good idea. Okay, let's also throw this one in here, and I'll actually answer this one. So Deborah's saying that she's been using BusyBusy for a while, and let me start over. I've been using BusyBusy for a while, and we used the original features of the pro version that made us want to sign up really well, like GPS, breaks, cost coding. Now that we've been using it for so long, we keep getting emails about feature releases, and we'd like to learn more in depth about what BusyBusy has to offer. Is there a best way to do that? So I'll answer that one. We're actually going to be starting a BusyBusy You've Mastered the Basics webinar series for our pro users, or if you've been using BusyBusy for a while and you want to check out some of the new features and learn how to use them in depth and see if they're going to be an option for your company, then you can watch the webinars and we'll be introducing those. So just keep an eye out. I think we're going to start doing it in like December or January and just kind of dive into some other options. So I'll make sure you get that email. But everybody else on here, definitely watch for it because I think it's going to be a pretty cool series. Let's see. Let's throw one more in here and then we'll let everybody get back to their day. I think this one's really cool. It kind of ties into the one I just answered as well, but I think this will be a good one for Isaac to answer. Originally, we didn't think GPS features was something that would have a very good impact on our business. I didn't think my employees would like it. But now that we've started, it's doing really well and has actually improved some of our company culture and relationships, especially between me as a supervisor and the employees that I work with. Are there other features that BusyBusy has that would make a similar impact that I should know? So again, the webinar series that we'll be doing, that will be helpful, but we do have some other features that I think Isaac could talk about for a sec.
Yeah, first off on the GPS, yeah, if you introduce GPS properly, and it's not just about, hey, big brother's watching you, but it's like, look here, this is another tool that helps us run our business. GPS can give them reminders. They can help them know why they're there, what they're doing, what they're supposed to be doing. And also it helps in legal disputes. So GPS makes it to where if you end up with trying to exercise your lien rights, doing that stuff, it makes it to where you can tag not only employees that have been on the job, but if you're using the photo feature, then you can tag photos like deliveries and different things that have happened on your job. So GPS actually just goes a long way for validating, especially if you get in a dispute with the owner or the general contractor. Probably the most important other feature that I'm interested in that Busy has rolled out lately is progress tracking, because I want to see how progress is going from one day to the next. And the progress tracking is a big factor. So when you're talking about what's been done, like what costs have been made, time and materials and equipment versus the time, the resources you've used versus the progress that you're making. That's a real key. The other thing that is cool about progress tracking is you can start setting those goals for your employees where they can start getting excited about recording what they've done and what they're doing, which again goes back to that bragging rights. So I would say progress tracking is probably the most exciting feature that's coming out right now, and extremely exciting for me. Anybody that wants to look at your business on a daily basis or weekly basis and see how you're doing, that's a major feature.
Awesome. Cool. Well, thanks, Isaac. I mean, I've heard your story a few times and it just never ceases to amaze me. I think it's really, really awesome. It's fun to have you answer some questions, and appreciate you hopping on here. Appreciate everybody for joining. We will, see you on the next one. And thanks, guys.
Okay. Thanks a lot. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Isaac. See ya.
Take care.